What's up, everybody, and welcome back to The Flip Side, a gyto podcast where we break down and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. Did I get it?
You did not, but you had the words
it.
just in a different order. It's fine, but that's because this is The Flip Side on site. We are joined by the incredible third grade team from Spring Mill Elementary, one of our Get Your Teach on Indiana collaboration sites. What's up, everybody? Say hi to everyone. There you go. They're like,
Hi.
What happens on the podcast? We listen to it. We don't know.
But we did manage to create the Flip Side couch.
Yes, we did. So this is Flip Side on site. So this is our travel studio. So you did the best you could with limited
Travel
resources.
with the furniture.
There you go. Yeah. No.
In our suitcase.
But we've spent the last 2 days here at Spring Mill Elementary. I got to spring the last year, not every day, I wish.
Spring or spent?
It's a long day. Spring Mill Elementary, one of our Indiana collaboration sites. But talk a little bit about what the partnership is with Indiana, what that looks like, and what this past 2 days kind of look like.
It's actually crazy that it's been 3 years.
I know.
Yeah, this is our third year here in the state of Indiana, and our collaboration sites are places where we do summer conferences, right?
Yes.
In the state of Indiana. And we talk a lot about seeing something at a conference and then seeing it in your school is just two completely different things. And so when we were initially in the beginning stages of working with the state, one of the biggest things that we told Dr. Katie Jenner, who is the state secretary of education, is we said, if we're going to work with your state, we have to be in your schools. And she said, done. And I'm like, this is why I know I can work with you. Because it is so important that all the things that we bring to conferences are shown effective in classrooms. And so we get to work with the teachers, we get to do side-by-side coaching, instructional rounds. What else have we done? We've done so much.
A little bit of everything, and we have what we call collaboration sites. So those are schools that we pour into for the entire year, whatever they need, whatever goals that they have. That's kind of our intention as we push through.
Yeah.
This is also after 3 p.m. and the bell has hit. So we're stumbling over our
work.
We had PLCs, we had model lessons, instructional rounds, pep rally, all the things today. But last year, I got to work with these incredible 3 teachers as well as the rest of their staff here. This year, they are all the third grade team. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves, tell them a little bit. Obviously, they know you teach third grade, but how long you've been teaching and a little bit about you. So I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Amspa to start things off. Go ahead, Brianna.
Hi, I'm Brianna Amspa. This is my 12th year teaching. Right now I'm teaching third grade, but last year I got to be here at Spring Mill and teach 5th grade with the whole Get Your Teach On, and that was the second year I taught 5th grade, so I've taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and now 3rd again.
Awesome. And why don't we share our biggest takeaway from the last 2 days before we kind of dive into today's episode, which is going to be a little juicy and little different things that we're doing. But talk about what's your biggest takeaway for the past 2 days or even the collaboration in general.
So what I like with that we've seen the past 2 days is just really doable things in the classroom. When we go to when you have PD, sometimes it's kind of your head is in the cloud when you get to learn all these things, but then how do you implement it right now and today or tomorrow? But what we've been learning, whether it's attention getters or whether it's actual learning strategies, you can do this right now. We were just talking today, the lesson that Hope modeled, looked at her, I was like, we're doing this Monday, and it's Thursday, and we don't have any resources, we don't really have a plan, but we're going to do it Monday because it is so doable that all the things that we're learning are doable in our busy schedule.
I love that.
I'm Maggie Hartnagel.
Chappelle.
You got married. You got married here. There we go. Recently married. Sorry, Mr. Chappelle. Sorry, Mr. Chappelle. There we go. Okay, yeah, you can do it again.
Yeah, I'll start over. I'm Maggie Chappelle.
Woo!
I got married 4 weeks ago, so it's still kind of new. I student taught here and fell in love with the school. So this is my 7th year that I've got to be here, and I've got a little taste, kind of like you did, of lots of schools. So of grades. I taught 5th, 4th, 2nd, and now 3rd. So I've had a little bit of everything, which is really fun, I think. And I get to see kind of like we've been talking about, what's the vertical alignment. I get to see where my students need to be because I taught that grade. So I think that's been really helpful for me as an educator. And from you guys coming in, the joy that it's bringing our students is contagious. And just like she said, some of those tangible things that we can do right away in our classrooms just to elevate the teaching and the learning is really nice.
I love that. Maggie's in her classroom. Her student's like, Mrs. Chappelle. She's not answering because she doesn't recognize her married name. She's like, who is that?
It does take time.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Haley.
Hi, I'm Haley Gallagher, and this is my 3rd year teaching, 2nd year in 3rd grade, but I've been in the district. This will be my 6th year. I was at another school in the district
we don't need
that we don't talk
that.
about before I came here and actually took a teaching role. What was the other thing? What did I take away from here?
Yeah.
So this is my second time, and I remember the first time Chris coming in, and he was like, rainbows and sunshine. And I was like, okay. It was kind of like what Brianna had said, like, okay, are you going to show me just a bunch of great stuff that I can't do, or it's going to take me a long time to do, or I'm going to need to go spend all this money to do it, or, X, Y, and Z. You start to think of all these things, and then you think about like pyramid schemes.
That is sad. That a new person comes to your school for PD. I feel that.
Yeah,
new person comes. We don't know each other at all. First day meeting Haley, I'm in her classroom, and the first thing she's thinking is this a pyramid scheme? I love that because we've come so far, but that is so good. It's like,
do I need to buy a kit?
Exactly. Yeah. What is the kit I have to buy? That is so sad that as teachers, that is the first thing we think of. What is this new thing? Who are you? Where are you from? And honestly, I didn't know you at all because how the collaboration sites work. Schools apply. The Indiana Department of Education chooses schools throughout the state that are going to be selected. And it's like, it's go time. You're starting next week. And I walk in like, hey guys, I'm Chris. And Haley's going, pyramid scheme, what is this? Hopefully I broke that within like the first 24 hours,
like
maybe.
Looking through Instagram, being like, where's the fake thing? No, but for real, like all of the resources we've given and all the people, and then going to the conference and the people that are talking are real teachers. Like our principal got to talk, and I know she literally looked at me and was like, did I sound good? Did I whatever? And I was like, no, what you said is truly like what you do. So then I was like, I hope, everyone here, they're not just fluffing us. Like we were able to come back, and as a team, like, Maggie had went before I did. She was able to share things, like all of the, things that we were able to implement. And then our team has all gone now, really besides one. But then you guys come in and just reinforce that, or with our students. Like I get to see it with our kids. So that's meaningful, and to see that like they're capable. They're capable of any other school to do it. Like,
and I think that kind of long-term accountability of the shared vision of this is what it looks like, you guys taking the ownership of it, but also you mentioned holding each other accountable. Like Brianna said, no, we're doing this on Monday, and all of you are like, okay, let's do it. Like just the sense of your team, and Brianna's new to the third grade team, not new, was teaching fifth grade last year, but just your collaborative planning, what you're doing together is super powerful. So this episode is all about peer observations. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. So this is something that we have talked to a lot of teachers about. Something that you all are doing here that I think is really powerful. We've done a lot of observing each other, observing classrooms while we're on site. We did a lot last year, even more this year with 3 of us here, of getting each other's classrooms, watching each other's teach. It can be uncomfortable. It can be weird. It can be, what am I doing here? But you guys have seen power in what that looks like. And I want to hear kind of the good, the bad, the ugly of all things peer observation and how you all feel about it. So what do we officially name this episode?
Peer observations. Done well, done wrong, or not done at all.
Done well, done wrong or not at all. Thank you. They have to keep me in line. That's how this is working. So I'll open up to you all.
Well, before you do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at you with my phone like,
oh, geez.
I clearly have something.
I didn't know what you were doing. I thought you were taking a selfie. I don't know, catching up on Instagram.
I had to go into the archives here, okay?
I was like, what are we doing?
No, because I knew that we were going to record this episode.
Yeah.
And so I just want to do a little bit of poll on the people of the gram.
Yes, I love this. I forgot you did this. Let's do it.
Data guy. You wouldn't want to skip this part.
Data daddy forgot. Okay,
here we go. Skip this part. Okay, so number one, I asked people, and I had I think 1,500 people-ish respond to the polls. The first thing was, how do you feel about peer observations? So we're going to kind of start there with you guys, but I'm going to tell you what the people said first. So the people said, or 57% of people love them, and 43% of people want to leave them.
Love them or leave them. We could have done that for the episode too on there. We should have looked at that first.
But yeah,
that's good.
57% love them. 43% says leave them. I do think this next one's important too. So the next question, because the tagline is actually good. It's done well, done wrong, or not done at all.
Yeah.
I then asked, how often do you get to observe other teachers teach a full lesson start to finish? Or even just teach a lesson, which I think peer observations are incredibly important. We'll get into that. But 77% of people said they never get to watch. 819 people said they never get to watch anyone else teach.
Which is kind of scary to me because you only know what you know in your four walls. And I think of like my first year teaching. I was not doing it well. Like there was many things that I could learn from other people that I just wish right next door, over the wall. Like I would hear it, I would see it, but I would never know how to do that because that wasn't set up in my school. So that is frightening to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I asked, when was the last time you observed another teacher? When was the last time? Like not just
Yeah.
And the options were never, my first year of teaching, within the last year, within the last 6 months. And so 83% of people have not seen another teacher teach since their first year of teaching.
Oh my goodness.
12% within the last year, 4% within the last 6 months.
So you all are breaking statistics on that one there. But say that again, Maggie.
I was one of those. I didn't know this was for
Maggie voted.
I was voting yesterday. I was like,
Maggie voted
we do these
on
all
that.
the time.
So that
Like,
statistic is actually lower.
The 4%
because
is
Maggie
probably
voted for it
Springville
yesterday.
teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those 4 people that said yesterday, it was you all. It was you all saying yesterday. Everyone else was like, never. This is my first year teaching. I love that. So let's talk about peer observations, going to each other's classrooms. First of all, how did that first make you feel when you first, Maggie, you said you were an intern here, so maybe that was the culture, maybe it wasn't. But once the first time, think about going in someone else's classroom and having someone in yours. Let's start there even. Having someone come into your classroom. How did that make you feel that first time that it ever happened? Anyone can open it up.
Well, I have an Oura Ring, and I can go back and look. My heart rate spikes up really high,
Still.
and I tell them that too. Just because I want to show you, I want to do my best. I want you to see me, and I like to present myself well. So I want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Right?
'Cause
like
you care.
teachers, I care.
Yeah.
I do care. And I hope they're getting something out of it. And I'm worried my students won't do what they know. And I'm, all those things. So because you care so much, my heart rate does go up. But on the flip side of that, I love watching other teachers. So that statistic was like hard to me. Like, do I want to leave them? No, because I want to go see you. But do I like you coming in my room? Not always, but is it helpful? Yes.
Yeah, and what's interesting about all of us is we have really different perspectives with our years of teaching before and after COVID and all of that. And they just think in different buildings that we've been in. So I think that has shaped my perspective of it because I came from a building in a district before where that didn't happen at all. But the classroom autonomy was like huge, and the teachers had like almost total autonomy, which is kind of better for worse in a lot of because literally everybody was doing something different. But also that type, what you were saying, like, what are you doing next door? That's good. And what I found, and Kalei and Luann, our principal and assistant principal, can attest to this, that if I have a schedule that someone's coming into my classroom, it's like, you don't want to say you're doing a dog and pony show, but that's just what it is, that I'm a hot mess. When people come in and it's scheduled and I'm doing this and I plan this wonderful lesson, it literally, I'm a hot
Throws
mess.
you off. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if I'm just teaching, even though if I think they're coming in, like you guys coming in yesterday, it went fine. And I'm not worried about it at all because I'm just doing my thing.
Because that's when it's the most meaningful,
Yeah.
is when it's natural. I think that's the problem with either observing other teachers or even administrators observing teachers. When it's scheduled, when it's planned, and it's like, okay, in 10 minutes it's happening. The nursery, Maggie's already sweating thinking about it. I'm going to tell them what you told me.
Yeah.
Maggie said, I'm sweating through my underwear. Okay, TMI, but it's amazing. A lot of people can relate to that. My best friend Anne, our first year teaching, anytime anyone was watching her or she had to speak to any other human, she would get so red. Maggie actually reminds me a lot of her because literally she turns into like a literal tomato. Her neck is like all red. I'm like, what is wrong? She's like, no, this is not it. But if you walk in her classroom normally and she's killing it. She is killing it. She's herself, all the things. But if she knows in 10 minutes, someone is going to be watching me, it like changed her whole thinking. So with these peer observations that you all are doing, it is natural. It is something that's happening, reoccurring, maybe not every single day because schedules don't allow that, but it is something that, hey, I want to see this or I want to see that. There are people doing this. How can I kind of opt there? Kaylee, I'm curious, when you first started at Springville, first year teacher coming in, this expectation of someone coming to watch you and then giving you feedback on that almost immediately. How did you feel about that?
In the beginning, obviously, like Maggie said, and kind of like Brianna talked about, you don't know any better until someone like shows you or you see someone else. So then you're getting feedback and you're kind of like, okay, like, what do you want me to do with it? Like, show me how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that was one thing that I had to really talked to Clay and Luann about was that I don't take feedback, negative feedback. Well, and I know that about myself. So if you're going to critique or criticize something, I need to be able to see how to do it right. So that was a big advocate for myself, is walking in the doors. I started in January too. So it was like, people were running.
That's tough. And that is tough. I started in January as well, my first year teaching.
And it was like,
it is not easy.
It's like, oh my God, I see all this data that's not mine. I see all of this that's not mine. And I have to fix it or whatever. And I'm also being told like, well, no, you're not. Or no. And I'm like, well, then what? So then I was able to go in and watch other teachers, and I can see like, oh yeah, like I'm not doing this right. Or, okay, well, how can I? That's not me. That's not my style. So how can I make it mine? That was a big thing. It was intimidating at first, but then I guess you had to look at it like, we say it all the time. Well, Brianna wasn't on our team last year, but like we said it all the time. These are all of our kids.
Yeah.
So then understanding like we should all want all of the kids in third grade to be successful, not just mine or not just hers. And looking at that when they were first graders back then, like these are all of our kids. So how can we benefit them? And if us working together as a team is what's best for them, then we need to do it.
Yeah.
So if we need to observe each other, if we need to critique each other, if Maggie is the first one to say if I'm, up here and all the things, like being able to tell each other those things and have those real conversations, I think are really important as
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
So, and I think with observations, whether it's administration or peer, we just have this mindset that it's a got you. Like, I got you. I got you. I didn't see this.
Sure.
I didn't see this. And then because it's tied to our evaluation, and I feel like that's why anybody comes in, it's like, oh, they're going to get me on something, instead of like, no, I'm here to like, maybe you did see this, or we don't see a lot of like, you did this really well, and I can't wait to do that because you did this. And that's what I feel like we do a lot. Like we like share this, like we did this, and I really like that you did this, and I'm going to do that too. And and doing the flip side of that, instead of just have that mindset that when someone comes into your classroom, that it should be a support, either for the kids or for you, not they're going to get me. And that's what we need to unlearn that. Also,
that's 2 points for integrating the flip side naturally into the conversation. So great job. I love that. That is like my love language when people do that. But you've worked together. You've been in each other's classrooms. How do you feel? Like, what are some tips you have for people who maybe you have that set up by your administration, right? They're setting up time that if Maggie's like, I really want to see someone who's tracking data, you have a system in place. First, let's just even talk about that system, because I think some people could maybe take that back to their school or things like that. So talk about your system for Maggie. If you wanted to see someone else's classroom, what systems do you have in place here that you have found beneficial to observe each other, or what do you have in place for that?
Yeah, so we have two things. We have an MTSS coach, but maybe if your school doesn't have that, you could go to your administration or a teammate and ask them. But we would go to our coach, and she could help. I might go to Jill. Her name's Jill. And I would say, Jill, I really want to see someone who's really good at keeping kids accountable during the math fluency. That's something I'm struggling with. She's been in the building. She sees all the teachers more frequently than we do, which is nice. She's got this kind of oversight. And so she can go in and tell me, you should go see these 3 teachers. I can set it up for you if you'd like me to reach out to them, which is really helpful. But also, I just think we talk to each other a lot. Mm-hmm. And if your school doesn't have that, if you don't know someone to go to, our team, I ask 1,000,001 questions. So try to ask your team for help. What do you do for this? Haley's really organized. I can go to her if I have an organization question. Like all these different things. And I was going to say before that, one of the silliest things that I remember my first year teaching, writing down as I got to go into a peer observation, was the teacher said, cap your markers. And like, that's what I wrote down, because I was having a problem with that. My kids kept drawing on their whiteboards when it was time to move on. And she just quickly was like, raise them up, clean them off, cap your markers. And then I just remembered, I need to do that. That's a little
something
thing.
Something as simple as that.
So
that was nothing big, but you still do that as you're teaching. Every time you're in your room, you literally do that. And you would not have found that answer to that problem that you were having, that maybe someone else was at one point, unless you saw it in action. I think a lot of times with PD especially, we hear it, we're like, oh, that sounds great. Until you see something in action to solve that problem or it's not going to be attainable. Now, Hope, yesterday we were having a conversation. We were in a lot of classrooms. We were doing some side-by-side coaching, all the things, peer observations, and we were talking about specific and focused kind of look-fors and takeaways when we're going into classrooms. Why do you think that's so important for teachers? As you're going to a classroom, you're not saying, oh, wow, I love Mrs. Chappelle's bulletin board or this, but like Maggie said, you have that specific look for next steps.
Well, the thing, I have a lot to say about peer observations, and I've been listening to kind of what you guys have been sharing too, but I think that, so many times it's like, well, we don't have time.
Yeah.
We don't have So number one, if we're going to make the time for peer observations, they need to be meaningful. I don't need to worry about your decor on your walls. Yes. I need to worry about instruction. That's the game changer. Like, what can I do better as an educator? What is Maggie doing that is getting her higher mastery, higher success, getting her students more engaged? Let me see what I can do, what I can tweak. But I want to revisit, because when we talk about peer observations, I think it scares people. Like, I don't want anybody in my class. And I totally get that, which is really crazy for me to say, because I have been observed thousands of times. Both as an educator, I taught at a school called Ron Clark Academy, where we had hundreds of educators every single week walk into our classrooms, as well as now the work that we do, we're constantly in schools doing model lessons. And I still get afraid. Yeah. Like, that just means that you care, that you want to help other people be better. So I think that a lot of times we just have to recognize, okay, the fear is there. That's normal. It's valid. It's not going anywhere. But am I going to let that stop me? Or am I going to move past that? Because really, by opening the doors to your classroom, by doing peer observations, you're reaching a new level of vulnerability. And that's not always comfortable. But by being vulnerable, that's when true change happens school-wide. And I think that's the biggest thing about peer observations. It allows us to be great as a school versus great as an individual. I never cared about being great as an individual. That's not going to mean anything to education if I'm the only one that's doing XYZ really well. I need everybody doing that really well. So I think peer observations are so important. But if we're going to take the time to do it, back to your question, it needs to be intentional about what I'm going, because it is very easy to get overwhelmed and to walk in the classroom and be like, okay, like you said, the decor, or watch the lesson and walk out and be like, that was a great lesson. What was great?
What are you doing next? Yeah.
What made it beneficial? What's going to be the action? Because going into a classroom and leaving unchanged was a waste of time.
Yeah.
If I'm going to walk into a classroom, I want to leave changed just a little bit. What is one thing I'm going to do differently?
I also think there's no other profession that you graduate, you get your degree, you have your internship, you're watching everyone, you're doing all the things, and then you're thrown on this island on your own. Yeah. Every other profession, every other career, you will have opportunities to watch other people, to learn from others, to see it in action. We're the only ones that are thrown in a room with a closed door, and we're like, good luck, we'll give you some training every other week on a Wednesday. Like, we need to find those opportunities, and if it's not available at your school, seeking them out to say, hey, I want to see someone, like Maggie said, who is a rock star at this. Not just, I want to watch other teachers, because I think also times I've been at schools where they've tried to set up peer observation. So it's a thing. We call them instructional rounds. And in my early years of teaching, they have a time. They're like, okay, choose a teacher to go see. We would go see our best friends. We would be like, oh, they're killing it. Hang out, grab a Coke from their fridge, like all the things, fill out the little form they had us do, and then go back to our classrooms, call it a day, just like check a box. Yeah. But that's not what it's about. It's about that intentionality of, you may not have even known this teacher was doing it. Something was so powerful last year when Spring Mill was actually one of my collaboration sites, as I said earlier. One thing that we did is, we didn't do so many peer observations due to schedules last year, but I had filmed the different classrooms that I was in of what they were doing, the different engagement strategies, all the different things. And I remember Maggie the next morning running up to me in the hallway. She's like, I didn't even know all those amazing things are happening in our school, because you don't have the opportunity to do that, because your specials is only at your time. Your lunch is not overlapping. The schedule's not in our favor. So you're really on this island there. You're like, this is amazing. And that kind of gave you a spark to like, this is awesome. I want to continue this, because it's not just what's happening in my classroom. It's big picture for the entire school, which makes you want to be there, that you know everyone else is killing it for kids, all in. So seeing those in action, you're like, that is great. Yesterday, I got to go with the new teachers, and it was the same exact thing. They were seeing people in action. They were like, well, I had no idea that this was even happening. I'm going to take this and rock with it, or things like that. So I think that's super powerful.
Well, and I think that's really great for Spring Mill, that we've built a culture of, one, being like self-advocating. Like, I need help, because I think it's just hard to say, I need help. I don't feel like I'm doing this proficiently enough. And so asking for that help, that I want to go see this because I don't do this enough.
And I want to stop you there for a second. How did you think you got there as a school? Because I know that was not always the case. What do you think helped get you to a place where you now are comfortable to sit on the Flipside couch on the podcast talking about...
Before that, because I think this is really important. Why do you think teachers are so afraid to say, yes, I need help? I need to see this. I don't know why are we so scared to do that?
Well, I think I can like point to every teacher being perfectionist in our own way. Yeah. And that if you're imperfect at all, then we tell our brains, you're less than. Someone just told me I'm less than because I'm a perfectionist. So if I ask for help, I'm telling myself that I'm less than. And so I just, again, unlearning that. And I think just the way that we've done our lab classrooms, and I think just doing the get your teach on collaboration sites, that we are kind of forced to go learn these things and forced to see it happen.
In a nice and gentle way, of course.
Yes. But, we're going to implement these things and we're going to make it meaningful, and you have to do it right now. All of, the 5 to Thrive right now. And, we get to see all these things. Like, I want to see what she's doing because I want to go in her class again, because what she's doing in that class is amazing, and I want to go see it again because I'm not amazing at that. Yeah. And again, I'm not a perfectionist, and I want to be amazing at it. So,
and I think what you just said, the right now.
Yeah.
That is key, because if we're waiting for PD, if we're waiting for that next training, that next thing, there's not a right now for that. You have to wait for the weekend to pass, wait things like that. Haley, I'm going to use an example. She's probably going to roll her eyes at me. But yesterday we did the writing process, and she was in a PLC with Hope. She knew there was a model lesson. Haley literally messaged me at 8 o'clock. She's like, I got my writing board up. She had no access to the resources yet. She had no
on the wall.
But yeah, literally. She had no access. Hope had not even got internet on her computer yet. And I was like,
release it.
Exactly.
Gatekeeping. I was gatekeeping.
Exactly. So she was literally like, nope, I got it. And it made it happen right now because you had seen it in action and you were like, I want to apply this now. And I think we're not often given opportunities to kind of do that. What do you think kind of made you want to do things like right now? Even last year, you were doing things right now. Like, I saw this and I want to do it right now. And peer observations kind of help us do that because it's bite-sized. It's a short amount of time. It's not overwhelming. And you're like, I can do that as soon as I get back to my classroom. What do you think the benefits of that are?
I think the benefit is that we ask. A big thing that I say a lot is that if we're asking for help, then we have to take the help. So as a school, our administration saw that we had a need and we asked for help. And then if I'm going to ask Jill, who, Chili Pop, has my heart.
We love Jill.
We love Jill. Spring Mill loves Jill.
She's the heart and soul.
Yeah, heart and soul of Spring Mill.
She's been here since 1645 or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
But if I'm going to take away her time to make the plan, make the schedule, to allow me to go to other rooms or have her come, and she mentored me last year in reading, and not implement the things that she's giving me, I just feel like that's like a smack in the face. Why did I waste her time? I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my kids' time. If I'm going to leave my kids to do those things, it's like, then we're going to do it and we're going to do it well. And then I'm going to have Jill come back and say, okay, does this look good? Do you like this? Is this how, all the things. And like Brianna said, that we can only elevate our game. So having that support in place to just do it and do it well, because while you guys are here, you guys taught it. So I want to be able to be ready to be like, is this it?
Yeah. And ask questions.
And ask questions before you guys leave. And then I'm kind of like, oh shoot, what did they say? Or last night I texted you the chant because it was in my brain. And I'm going back and I want the kids to do it.
I forgot you did that too. Yeah.
And I want them to do it well. So just immediately implementing it so I can immediately ask questions and immediately see the results.
Yeah. I love that.
I think to the results thing that you were talking about too is our school started implementing PLCs. Mm-hmm. So then weekly we were sitting down and looking at data, and I'm bringing my data, which I need, and we've talked a lot about I'm not attached to that data in the way that I'm upset that my kids did poorly on something. If I'm looking at my team, my whole team has kids in the 3 category and I'm in the 1 category, then I need to go back and reflect, what did I do that I maybe need to tweak, or what did they do? And I'm going to ask them, hey, what did you guys do that made your class so successful in this? And so that I can fix it with my data more efficiently while it's still hot data, because, and that has opened us up to trusting each other more, I think, and creating a community and as a team to be open and say, clearly I can see something I was doing wasn't working. Mm-hmm. How can you help me make it better?
Yeah, it's that we mentality instead of a me mentality that I think is the most powerful for all of this together.
And it's the culture, it's week 4 of me being in this team, and I trust them with my life. I'm I'm going to share all the things, and I want other things, just building that trust. And I think that's a lot with a team. And I've been on teams where that wasn't the case, and you can see how that also plays an effect in it. So we are just very lucky that even we don't do all the same things, but we just trust each other enough that we're just going to help each other grow.
Yeah, and just because someone does something different than you doesn't mean you still can't take something from it. It's that flip perspective of, maybe it's not exactly how I would do it, but I can take this from it and apply that to me and being that reflective. All right.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So maybe final question, but Spring Mill does it so well, obviously, and that's taken time for you guys to get to that place of where peer observations are done so well here. Some people just don't do them at all, which I think is very problematic, and I think that is saying, we're not willing to grow, we're not willing to change, we're not willing to be better, and at the end of the day, we're impacting kids. And so anytime somebody won't take a leap for kids, I'm just like, please leave the profession. That's just as simple as that. But
Target is hiring. I saw a sign on the way here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I tell the teacher all the time,
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
you get a discount then.
Yeah.
But let's talk about if a teacher is in an environment, because peer observations can also be incredibly toxic.
Oh, yeah.
That's an administrative issue. And again, big red flag. But if a teacher is in an environment where they are done wrong, perhaps, what would be some of your advice? How can they advocate for themselves to, maybe get to a space, a place that they can benefit from those peer observations?
Yeah, there may be people listening right now that are like, no, I'm not doing it. I've seen it. It's not done well. What
that's
advice?
That's not how it's done at my school.
Exactly.
I don't get to be. So the peer observations don't work for me because my school doesn't do them well.
Yeah, how would
we
you
just write it off,
change that
advocate
narrative?
for yourself,
Right, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I think, it does take someone to get started, and it probably takes someone who is organized. And, we are thankful that we have a Jill in our administration who's like, yes, let's do that. But it takes someone to get it started. Okay, I'm going to organize who is doing X, Y, and Z well. Do we have coverage? Can we make that happen? But it takes someone to get started. So if you end up being that person, you can partner with, some coach, some administrator. You just need some sort of like team, even if it's just two people to get started. Hey, I'm going to cover your classroom so you can go because this person's doing that well. And then it'll just kind of build from there. So that I think if you want it to happen, you can start it yourself because it's just logistics, really.
I love the team. So I think that's so. Again, you can go and complain as long as you are bringing a solution to the table. That's always my philosophy. And so if something is not working for me, it's not benefiting me, I'm actually seeing it be toxic in the school, then going to a coach, going to an admin and saying, hey, listen, I really want these to be beneficial. Like right now, they're not, if I'm being quite honest with you. What if we created a peer observation team? I know I would be willing to be part of that team. I know other people who I've talked to who would also be willing to be part of that team. We can brainstorm. We can talk about a plan. We can talk about, a course of action. So I think that's a great idea, is to be honest with your admin. Tell them how you feel, but also say, hey, here's a solution I have in mind. And they might say, I have a better idea, and that's okay too. But bringing that solution to the table, I think, is huge.
Yeah, I was also talking to a school a few weeks ago, and they were like, well, we don't have time to do this. We don't have that. And I was like, when your students go to specials, what do? They're like, oh, well, I have to plan. I'm like, well, that's a choice, because I can, even if there's not something school-wide, if I was teaching and I knew Maggie was doing something and I wanted to see it, as soon as I drop my kids off at specials or lunch, or I would say, okay, I'm going to give up just 15 minutes today. I don't have to spend there an hour there or anything like that. I'm going to ask Maggie, hey, can I come see what you're doing? If Maggie says no, I don't think Maggie's going to say no, but then she's not the person you want to see anyway and learn from.
Right.
But no teacher's going to say, yeah, come in. I really am struggling with this. Can I come and watch you? Take the ownership of yourself. Don't wait for someone to hand that opportunity to you, because I know if any of the three of you, even if it wasn't set up by your administration, and you were like, I'm struggling with this, who can I go see? You're walking past their rooms 12 times a day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ask them, say, hey, can I just pop in for 5 minutes? They're going to welcome it and see what they're doing for those different things. So I think advocating for yourself is huge.
And then I think, too, on the flip side of that, once you've observed them and you're like, okay, I want to try what she's doing, then you try it. You go to that person and say, hey, can you come in my classroom? I want you to watch.
Yeah.
I just want you to
co-teach it together.
You are so
even
good at this. Yeah. I just want you to see. I mean, even if you were to take one planning period a quarter, right? Just to go and better yourself, look for things, find new solutions, find new strategies. We're going to get a little bit better every single time.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not that serious. A lot of teachers will be like, well, that's my planning period. It's untouched. It will be okay. And that's a you thing, really. I mean,
yeah.
And kind of what Maggie said before, a lot of really good teaching is really just really good procedures.
Yeah.
How you do it. And if you have really good procedures, you could teach anything.
Yeah.
And if you can get them here, there, doing this, writing that, and it's, what you did today, when you modeled the writing process, you didn't teach rocket science. You taught a great procedure to get them to brainstorm, which is like SOS,
do it better.
SOS writing. It's if you can, so those are so really small things to observe, and you can take one thing away. If she's doing 5 really great things, I can take one. So if you can just build your procedure.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I've only cried on one other episode of The Flip Side, but I'm getting emotional.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I cried one time. I just seeing the three of you here, like I've now we were complete strangers last year. Being in your classrooms, working with your students, getting to know you as a human and as an when I say incredible teacher, like incredible teacher, and just hearing you all confidently speak about that. We're just like, hey, can you guys come to the library after school? We want to do a podcast episode. You're like, okay, I guess. Like, there was no thing. I personally am so proud of you, and I'm so grateful that Hope and Wade, my two very best friends, get to see you all in action now, because now they can put faces to the names that I've been saying for like literally a year. I'm like, well, they did this, they did this, they did this. So I want to thank you all for just your continuous growth mindset, being willing to try new things. Literally anything that we say, you're like, yeah, let's try it. Let's try, because you know it's going to help the kids. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, you're like, at least we tried it and we know that's there. And nothing's going to be perfect. No model lesson's going to be perfect. No PR observation's going to be perfect. It's just being real about it and authentic. So I want to say thank you to you guys for that. I pulled it together, but thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We're so happy for Hope and Wade, but that connection, we're just going to miss you. So.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. So thank you guys for watching. Shout out to the third grade team at Spring Mill Elementary in Indianapolis. Maybe one day they can come visit you all. Who knows? Maybe you can do the peer observations here. You never know. But catch a new episode of The Flip Side every Monday right here on YouTube if you're watching, or you can listen on your favorite streaming platform for another episode released every Monday. But until then, we have to do this all together. You say, I'll say catch you on that, and we all say flip side together. Here we go. Catch you on the
flip side. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.